off in the distance. And I knew exactly what she was thinking. I could be doing something a lot more fun, like carrying out the garbage. The spouses, though, they just don't want to be here. And I can speak firsthand. They're around a bunch of people. They don't know who any of us are. We may be having trouble with a few people, but they don't know any of us. And if you be honest with yourself, there's only one reason you're here. That's because you know that your husband or wife, who was in the class of 57, had the love of their life someplace in this world. And of course, they just don't want to take a look at them. They want to protect their goods. And you know, this is a dangerous place too, because now there's an exception to some of that, because some of these people were high school sweethearts, married, and are still married. There are others of you, and I won't ask you to raise your hands, that made 3 or 4 mistakes prior to going back to a 57. And tonight, there are likely to be 2 or 3 more. Another reason spouses are here. Recognition is a difficult thing, and especially for those poor people who have to do this. You'll have to forgive me for staring. This is a great opportunity to look into all your faces, and it's a chance I may not get again for a long time. But you're like Scheherazade. You have 1,001 stories to tell, don't you? You've been so many places, and you've done so many things. You've accomplished so much. And we all came from relatively poor background, but we didn't know that. And they didn't prescribe drugs for us when we had trouble at home. We persevered, we made it the best way we could. But you all have so many stories. You've probably suffered grief deeper than you ever thought possible. You've had more joy than you ever thought you should. But you haven't changed so much that I can't see you still walking the halls of Reagan, talking with your friends in the lunchroom, standing at your locker, working hard out on a playing field, or sitting in your classroom. I can also see the little glows in your faces when your grade was a little bit higher than you thought it should be.
I never got one.
Or yeah. Well, in yours, I saw the dejection when you got a grade slightly lower than you thought. I think we've all come a long way. We're the survivors here tonight. Ray came up to me a while back and she says, "Do you know what a reunion is?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she said, "No, do you know the formal definition?" And I said, "Well, I guess not." And she says, "It's where a lot of people get together to see who's fallen apart." Now, I don't know how many of you married your high school sweethearts the first time or second or third time. But I do know of several. Of course, Rolf Johnson and Carol Petty. Last night, Rolf was saying that they really do celebrate the meaning of being able to both come excitedly to a reunion like this. So that's something different for the rest of us who had to drag him kicking and screaming. But I want to tell you a quick story. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but Barbara Vincent-Haler and Charlie Spades, where are you? Okay. Oh, there you are. Lori and I frequent a very high-class restaurant, which we call Casa Olé. And I want you to know that Barbara and Charlie, also seeking culinary excellence, are there often. And we run into them. And a while back, I walked into the restaurant, and there's Barbara and Charlie with a large group at the table. So I went over to say hello. And it was mostly family. And Barbara introduces me to her daughter. And I thought I'd have a little fun with her. I said, "It's so nice to meet you because I feel so close to you. You know, De La Santel and I used to double date a lot with your father and your mother. And you were conceived on one of those nights." And she looked me straight in the eye, and without hesitation she says, "Oh, that's odd, because I'm not the first child." So then I had to look at some cognitive story about double dating with them for several years. will again tomorrow morning. And this all seems so easy and so fun. But if it weren't for many long, hard hours of people putting it together, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I would like to call off the names of the committee. By the way, this is only the third reunion we've ever had. You all know that. You know why? Because the committee has such a good time having their meetings, they never think about it. So as I call your name, would you mind coming up here so we can all give you a proper thank you? Diane Dushman, where are you? She wasn't having a great time, and Rolf said, well, what can we do to make it more entertaining for the spouses? And I never was able to hear the answer as they walked away. I think it was something like, don't let the spouses ever come again. Julia Kirkpatrick. Julia, you're looking marvelous tonight. Urban Lehman. Urban Lehman for years has made my life miserable. He knows that I'm the most gullible person in the world and he uses it to great advantage. Kirby Nash. Kirby, good to see you. Carol Petty. I think it was when my wife met Carol Petty, she said, were you their teacher? Ray Potter. And what do you suppose comes right after that alphabetically? Kay Potter. Eddie Romans. All right. Eddie, you're an internet genius. It's pretty amazing. In the first 58 years of your life, there was no internet, and now you're a master at it. Betty Scott. Nathan Trivico. Kenneth Wax. I met Kenneth's mother this morning. She doesn't look any older than he does. James Wiley. James. Thank you for all your hard work, man. And last but not least, the chairman of the board, Marvin Rush. So easy, and you've been working for days, months, hours on this. And somebody even had the audacity earlier this evening to ask, when's the next one? You 5 more? Okay, I will let all of you be seated except James and Marvin. I want you to stay up here with me for just a moment. And James, I'm going to hand you the microphone when you're ready to take it. should ask you to remain up here as somebody took your seat.
I wrote a speech, but so much going on this evening, I'm probably going to have to read it. But if it does involve Marvin, so that's the reason we're here. And it'll involve... You can't hear me? I said I wrote a little speech, and I was going to put it to memory, but my memory left me, so I need to come up here and probably read it. But it's certainly going to involve Marvin and Connie Berger. But Marvin is founder and chairman of Rush Enterprises. Your continued business success has not escaped notice by the class of '57 and Reagan High School. Headquartered in New Braunfels, Texas, Rush Enterprises is the largest truck dealership and #1 Peterbilt truck dealer in North America. The core businesses are everything to do with heavy and medium duty trucks, John Deere construction equipment, truck service centers from Florida to California, and also banks, financing services, and insurance products. In 1996, Marvin and Barbara took their company public through an IPO and became the first dealership to do so. Rush Enterprises is traded on NASDAQ. Revenues for calendar year ended December 2006 was $2.4 billion with a B. Net earnings was $59 million. Marvin, your business achievements and Barbara's guidance clearly earns recognition as an outstanding Reagan High School graduate and distinguished member of the class of '57. On behalf of our classmates, it's my privilege to present your picture to Connie Berger, principal of Reagan. Here comes Connie. And place your picture in the Reagan Hall of Honor. Congratulations.
I wonder where you got that. Did my wife or my secretary Tammy have something to do with it?
We had to use our special Northside means to come up with this without Marvin knowing about it, but it does resemble him quite well, and it's going to look great in the Hall of Honor, I would think.
Good evening, and I'm very privileged and honored to be a part of this evening. Just a little tidbit, I too am a Reagan graduate, but my class, did I tell you I'm a Reagan graduate? You're going to be in detention. This is just absolutely fabulous. I've had the pleasure of sitting in between he and his wife during dinner, and they are just absolutely wonderful, wonderful people. I've really enjoyed talking to both of them. But on behalf of the Reagan alumni, we have a Reagan alumni watch that we would like to present to him so he can take his Rolex off. I'm going to trade it. It's an even trade. And I do want to say I'm very privileged to hang his picture in the halls of Reagan High School.
What do you think about that for one of our classmates? Isn't that terrific? I would also like to mention that in the Reagan Hall of Honor, Marvin joined such notables as Richard Racehorse Haynes, famous defense attorney, Lawrence Marshall, with automobile dealerships, and also Joe Tusa, who's here with us this evening. And as Doug commented earlier, Joe is a primary driving force in preserving our Reagan heritage as well. And another member of the Hall of Fame is Dan Rather, noted journalist, and there are probably several others, but these are the more notable, and we have one of our classmates up there with them. So hoorah for that, and let's party. What do you say?
I'd like to say a few words if I could. Number one, I didn't need a thank you. Thank you so much. You bring tears to a wild hog's eyes, let me tell you. It really upsets me, but I'm glad to have it. I hope that you all are having a good time. That's what it's all about. The good Lord has been very, very good to myself, my wife, and my family. And without them, I wouldn't be here. And I just want you to know that it's great to see all of you. I wasn't around school as much as y'all were because I kind of skipped a lot, worked a lot. I was admitted to myself since I was 10, so I did a lot of things y'all didn't know when I was there. But anyway, I appreciate you coming. Anything, anytime, y'all got my phone number in your book. I can do to help you in any way. Please call us. We love you. God bless you. And may the good Lord love you forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. This you can imagine. Yeah, I'm done though. Marvin bought me a drink last night. And not being cheap myself, I told him I'd buy him dinner tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, years ago, some of you may know that I tried out for the choir. And I don't even remember whether it was at Hamilton or Reagan. It was probably Hamilton. And I was in a little choir thing, and the choir master was every day going up and down the line. And it took him a few days to get to all of them. And I was a baritone up on the top row toward the right. And he got to me, I think, on Wednesday. And he was listening while we were singing, and he said, "You're the one. Out!" And that was the end of my singing career. But we're going to sing the school song tonight. But I need help. Harold, you leaving us? Good night, sir. I guess you have to open early in the morning, do you? You better get up early with all these new orders that will be coming in.
You've done a great job here, and a group of fellas have gone together, and they're building a halfway house in the Heights. The girls that won't go all the way, named it for you.
After all I've done for you, Harold. Would you all quit holding him up and let him get on that? Now, I know that some of you sing like angels. Oh, I remember, I want to tell you one quick story first. Because for some reason this group reminds me of it. Unfortunately, it was on the internet too long ago, and it goes so quickly, I'm sure all of you have heard it by now, but if you haven't, I'm going to tell you anyway. It's about a young couple. It reminds us of high school and junior high school. This boy and girl named Peggy and Butch. They're 14 years old, and they're in love with each other madly, and they want to get married. But he wants to do it the proper way. Butch wants to go to the father and ask his permission. So this little meeting is set up, and the family really does like this fellow a lot. Butch is a nice fellow, very manly. So the father's going to talk to him. This is a very serious thing. And he says, "Sir, Peggy and I would like to get married, and I'd like your permission. I'd like you to give her her hand in marriage." And he said, "Well, son, where do you all intend to live?" And he said, "Well, I think we'll live in Peggy's room. Hers is bigger than mine." And the father was impressed with this quick answer. He says, "Well, how do you all expect to make a living?" And he said, "Well, my allowance is $10 a week, and Peggy gets $5. That should be enough." And he's very impressed with this bright young boy coming up with these quick answers, and finally says he has to stump him with something to make him realize the consequences, the seriousness of this. And he says, "What if a little baby comes along pretty soon?" And Butch said, "Well, we've been lucky up till now." old Butch was so sweet anymore. Anyway, when I call your name, would you please, you don't have to because this is not required. We didn't rehearse this or anything, but I'd like you to come up here and help us with the school song. Donna Bartok, would you come up here? Donna, you won't have to do it alone, Donna, so come on. Oh, who was it that just crawled under the table? Good for you. Eddie Blair, where are you? Eddie, I know you sing, I've heard it. Oh, good. Paul Durham. See, with the rest of them doing this, you can't get out of it now.
No, my name was called.
Okay. Well, we'll have a choir here in no time at all. Rolf Johnson, you know you're not going to get away without doing this. Where did he go? I don't even see him.
Right here.
Oh, there. Okay, good. Okay. Carolyn Meadows. Joe Jock, that's not. Taylor Santel. Taylor, I've heard you sing. Harriet Washburn. Wonderful, because she sings well enough that we need her here. Joyce Wiggins. Jerry Willifer. Do y'all feel like we're together again for a little group? Now, anyone else who was in fire? Hail to thee, we sing together. Hail to Reagan high. Strong in strength, our truest honor. Thee we glorify. Bravely meeting every challenge with a lusty cry. Keep us loyal, keep us onward. Hail to Reagan high. Reagan days are swiftly fleeting. Soon we'll leave these halls, ne'er to join another meeting. Leave these hallowed walls with the chorus speeding onward. Let our voices rise. Hail to thee, our alma mater. Hail to Reagan I think you can go back now to staring at those little pictures. Thank you for letting me be a small part of this. One more thing. The family is back together again tonight, and I think this really is a family. Not related by blood, but by association. We spent the most formative years of our lives together. And I'm firmly convinced there's a little piece of each of you in all the rest of us. And for the pieces of all of you that I have within me, you have my eternal gratitude. Let's have a good time.